You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The only things we really control are our thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, and actions. Everything else is outside the reach of our control, and nothing has taught me this more than endurance training, endurance events, as I've learned more about myself throughout the process than I have through any other experience in my life to date. An opportunity to rethink, to reflect, to recalibrate, and to simply immerse oneself in the outdoor world. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And that is why I choose to endure. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to do what most sitcoms do when they are struggling for content and run you through a clip show. As you may have gathered from the introduction, I take a lot of value from the concept of the practice of endurance. Whatever that means to you, the way I view it is it's sort of patient suffering. I think that's the dictionary definition. So I don't think that's what it means to me. I think that's what it means to the dictionary, and I've just passed that off as my own. But anyway, we'll move on. I am going to try and extract 6 lessons from Project Vertical, which for those that might not know was an 11-day ultra up and down Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain in the United Kingdom and one of the most iconic mountains in Scotland and in the UK. So that was all for mental health. Men's mental health as part of my campaign for November. We managed to raise just over £45,000, which is awesome. And there's a lot to extract from it, really. I'm still processing a lot of elements of it, and I'm sure Johnny's still processing a lot of the elements of it, but I've improved my own life massively by taking the lessons that I've learned from the adversity of training, the adversity of events, the adversity of preparation, and managing the obstacles that are thrown at me, and taking those lessons and place them into my own life. So my own concept of, my own understanding of resilience is much more developed from taking on ultras, taking on endurance, and ultimately just pushing my own personal boundaries. So the reason I'm making this video is because I firmly believe that we can all find ourselves in a sort of deeper state of reflection, a deeper state of learning about ourselves as individuals. And given the situation we're in the UK at the moment, with gyms being closed, winter sort of being at its peak, and a lot of people taking up running, I feel like 2021 is going to be the year of the ultra. So I'd like to encourage all of you to basically consider it as an option. I'd like everybody to consider broadening their horizons when it comes to training. I haven't made that much of a secret, but in this case specifically, I'd like to encourage people to really engage with the concept of endurance, resilience, and help build more of their own, because it's definitely been a challenging 12 months. I know how much there is to be learned from taking on an endurance challenge. I hope that this just gives you a bit of an insight into what I've managed to gain from it, and if that encourages you to take on a challenge of your own further down the line for personal reasons, for charity reasons, or for anything else, that will be wonderful. And please do let me know if you decide to do so as a result of this video, of course. So, 6 lessons to run through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of each, and then just run you through a bit of an insight from Project Vertical, from the footage that we've got left over, to kind of put that into practice, to sort of frame it through that footage. So, without any further ado, I'm going to start with number 1, which I think is one of the most important things in this process for me and in our day-to-day lives, and that is the importance of community and teamwork. As human beings, we all are sort of hardwired to want to belong to a community. That goes back to our history as cavemen. Anthropologically speaking, we should find ourselves in community, as that's where we find our sense of purpose, sense of fulfillment. So teamwork is a critical part of that, community is a critical part of that, and ultimately this year has made it very difficult for us all to find communities in person, so we've had to find them online in separate parts, in closer social circles, those closer to us geographically, etc., etc. But what I learned from Project Vertical was just how incredible an experience it was for us all when we all came together for a common goal, a common purpose, and something that we ultimately all cared about and enjoyed. We found our little tribe, we found our little community, and we worked together towards a common goal, and at points really enjoyed the process. At points we were on tenterhooks, but that's kind of part and parcel of this sort of process. So it's going to be bits from us and then just elements that show you what it was like being part of the team for Project Vertical. So here we go.
That's exactly what I thought as well.
Here, look, come here.
Yeah.
Do you want some hot juice?
Hot,
Like you've ones out the ration packs. And yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, that would be good actually.
Yeah.
That would be good. Yeah. Oh, good shout. Not my finest moment, but
There's a ligament attachment, and essentially called, you get runner's knee, and that's what you get.
Okay. It's only just come on today. It's far from agony. It's just it just feels like.
So it's similar spots. Just
I mean
generally-
that doesn't hurt at all, but it's just when I'm
You're
Downhill-
feeling it.
downhills,
So
yeah.
that's when you're feeling it, the clunk. So you've got a kind of
yeah.
because your tibia comes out. There's a little kind of tuberous.
Okay.
And that's when you're pushing down on your knee. That's the bit that's thumping against it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get a wee bit of bruising just in the cartilage
Yeah.
and the periosteum.
Thank you very much.
Very, very grateful.
Very much.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keeping you going.
We're going in.
Times 18.
yeah.
We should get these for the rescue team, shouldn't we? I climb by Nevis t-shirt.
Yeah, but you know best because you know.
So we introduced something before we started the challenge, something for just Fergus and Johnny to track sort of how they're feeling, how they're mentally feeling and physically feeling, and it's just a really simple model called the ABC. It's taken from a Kiwi mental skills coach called Aaron Welsh, and he talks about when you're in the A, you're feeling really up for it, you're feeling like you've got a lot of energy and you can really attack the mountain and sort of you can really power on through. When you're in the B, that's sort of the cruising stage, so you're not feeling your best but you're not feeling your worst, you're in that good sort of middle ground. And then you've got the C, and that's when you're struggling, you're not really feeling it, you're a bit maybe demotivated, de-energised, and it's just about surviving when you're in the C. So what's really important for Fergus and Johnny to realise is they're not going to be feeling the best the whole time, so it's how can they use each other. So if one of them is in the A and the other's in the C, how can that guy, if Fergus is in the A, how can he help Johnny get from a C into a B and get into sort of a more positive state to approach a mountain. But it's just about helping each other out and being really vocal and communicating with each other and what to do sort of when we're in different scenarios. And if you do get in the case when they're both in a C, that's when guys like myself and the support team, we can provide little treats here and there or a hot cup of coffee just to try and pick them up again.
If we strip it even further back, the process that we've gone through to get it to this stage, we couldn't have done that without being able to delegate and do certain things together, because I've sort of done it myself in years gone by and it's been near impossible and basically driven me insane at points, and it's been really challenging, and I've actually missed that group effort team. It feels like, the only thing I can liken it to is, and it's probably Doug to blame for this, he's a rugby player, but it's like a game day feeling every morning, isn't it?
Number two, and again, something that I think is very, very important to take into our day-to-day lives, and is absolutely something that I've taken from my endurance adventures into my own, and that is to cherish the small, simple things in life. As you'll be able to see from the clips I'm about to show you, food, conversations, stupid little jokes, nature, dogs, all these little things that we take for granted so much in our day-to-day lives brought me and Johnny so much joy when we were really in a hole and gave us such an uplift when we really needed it. We didn't need really complicated solutions, we didn't need designer clothes, we didn't need fast cars, we didn't need all these material things that we all get so caught up in the modern world, and we actually just found a lot of joy in the simple things. And I think a lot can be said for that, and I think if you are taking on your own ultra, I think it's important to try and plan ahead for that sort of thing. Food especially, human connection especially, all these little things. And I have a different perspective on what's important to me in life as a result of this process, as a result of the endurance challenges I've taken on in the past, and it just makes me a lot more grateful and a lot more appreciative for the small and simple things that I do have. So hopefully this gives you an insight, as I've said, and I just encourage you to think about what you're really, truly grateful for. Just be conscious of how amazing, how powerful, how joyous these simple things in life can be.
Oh, that is absolutely
Is it warm, eh?
not shit. Yeah, that's very good. Well, after all this conversation, the only thing that excites me is the thought of a pint.
That's a trend. It's going the wrong way. I just want to be sure that, because again, I feel you've got to be.
Because you're going to get dehydrated, you're going to get more.
Good. But they are strong.
It was about.
That was his face.
11 o'clock.
Looks like my countertop. I'm having a great time. I'm being disputed with here. We don't feel fit. No, we feel good, solid. Every working part of that summit, snow dusting. The weather was beautiful, but it wasn't just blue skies. There were clouds that were making it even prettier. The way the light was hitting, it was just us up there. It was absolutely beautiful. It was perfect.
Number 3, and this is a lesson that we learnt on day 1, in that you control the plan does not control you. Something that I've been guilty of in the past, and something that has actually, was a pretty contributing factor in terms of my initial experience with severe depression, was setting a plan, setting a structure rigidly, and then feeling that any time I deviated from that was a failure, was falling short, that sort of thing. But what we realised as part of Project Vertical was that we can only operate within the circumstances around us. We can only control the things that we can control. And yes, we can get frustrated about what didn't go to plan, but ultimately, what's that going to achieve? Very, very little. So the key thing is to adapt and to understand that you set a plan in place which gives you the framework, but sometimes the parameters can change. And that's exactly what happened to us on day 1 with really bad weather. I don't actually have any footage to show you of that bad weather because it was so bad it destroyed all the camera equipment. Brilliant, I know, big insurance claim that one. But what we learned as we went on was we just had to take each day as it comes, work within the boundaries which we could each day, as everything was different. How were we feeling? What were our knees like? What were our ankles like? Did we have medical support available at the bottom of the hill? Did we have people with us? What was the weather like? All these things. That is not just confined to the mountain. That is confined to our day-to-day lives, and all these things going on at the moment are making it very, very chaotic and very difficult to plan ahead. So what I've taken off the mountain into my own life is to understand that at the moment, while circumstances are so unpredictable, all I can really do is set some sort of framework, some sort of habit, anchor, day-to-day baseline to work from, and then everything else just needs to be going through the motions, going with the flow, figuring out what I can do, where I can thrive, where I need to pull back on a day-to-day basis, because we can only plan within the circumstances that are given to us. But the key thing that we all need to do is to be able to adapt when those circumstances change.
Right. Let's basically just sit down and make a plan for the rest of the day. Obviously, changing the plan, so it's reassess. I think the main objectives of this little period is recovery, rest, refuel, refeed, and just a general mental reset.
That doesn't begin with an R though.
Reset does.
A rental
recovery,
reset.
refeed.
Okay, yeah, so reset, refeed, refuel, recover. 4 hours. So let's use this time wisely. We've got a few different options, but let's remember those 4 key things.
How did you get on today?
Keep going. It's actually, all jokes aside. Yeah.
Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Feel that?
Yeah.
I don't think the stability on it is good, but I think mechanically there's something in there that's brewing,
Right.
and the way you're walking, the way you're protecting it, it's like we saw the other day. I'd be worried that you were going to risk injury because of the way that you're managing to weight bear and walk on this just now.
Yeah.
How do we look at some of the stuff that was up there as well when you were walking, and your gaits? It's all over the place, mate. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So And that's the whole coordination thing. I think we're in the same boat as we were the other day. I think we probably need to not do another one today.
Yeah.
For the very fact that it's not going to do you any favours, and then tomorrow, the last one, the kind of the main effort, you'll want to be strong for.
Yep.
Just what's your medical opinion on everything?
I think the guys have made the absolute correct decision for today. Medically, I think if they'd attempted another summit today or another ascent, it would have potentially ended up in injury, which would have jeopardised the rest of the event for the guys. So yeah, no good. I think physically and psychologically they're going to benefit from having a half day today.
Thought I'd give an overview of the week really, of how the Project Vertical's gone. I've not thought about this, by the way. From the sort of concept of what they were trying to achieve to starting on day one, I think it's fascinating, sort of all the planning, and again their knowledge around conditioning and getting themselves prepared for epic challenges is right up there. They're both guys that are fully clued up, and I think again one of the blessings of this week really is the first day and the hideous conditions that the Ben threw at them, and really I think opened their mind to just how difficult this could potentially be, and like I said, it was a blessing in many ways because it made them stop and think about all the extra stuff that they haven't had to think about, and therein lies kind of what we should all do really. They've reassessed, they've taken on board some important points and then re-attacked it again, and they've done amazing. I left for the middle part. I've come back at the end now, and it's fascinating to see how they've changed, both in what they're wearing, how they're holding themselves to on this last sort of almost penultimate walk up the hill. That they are guys that they've been on a journey, and it's a journey that I think a lot of people can relate to. It's impressive. It's incredibly impressive actually, just how much grit and determination they've had to show. It's been fascinating spending some time with them in the mornings at breakfast time. The chat over the breakfast table has been really insightful, and they have wrestled every single day with their emotions, their fatigue, their imposter syndrome in many ways, and just it has hurt them way more than they expected, but that's the point, and they expected it to be difficult. I don't think they could have imagined just how difficult it's been. Again, but this is something that they're going to learn an awful lot from, and I know they're going to use it as a springboard to go on and probably use it for the rest of their life and all the lessons that they've learned. Brilliant stuff. It's awesome to see.
Number 4, there will be lows, and that doesn't just apply to endurance, that applies to day-to-day life. And again, endurance is a concept that we practice day to day. I just encourage taking on endurance willingly because it helps better prepare us for when it's presented to us unwillingly, as it were. So, as with everything in life, there will be lows, but the key is that no one feeling lasts forever. And that's a mantra that I had to keep repeating to myself when I was on the mountain, when I've done stuff in the past, and in my day-to-day life. And no matter how grim things get, how miserable things are, there's always things that we can change, things that we can do to adapt to be able to keep moving forwards. And we need to acknowledge that the lows will come. We need to do what we can to fight through them, and then come out the other side, and we can take joy when the highs come.
I'm just wound up. As Brody there was tracking my knee through, and he said, no, you weren't. So even I was really, really giving it my all, and it just still wasn't happening.
God's sake. So I've done a bit of strapping on the lateral side just to support the ligaments. Malleolus.
Yep. Nah, fuck off.
How many times have we stood here now, mate?
Too many. The answer to all your questions is too many. Generally speaking, I feel dreadful. I have no confidence in my lower limbs' ability to do their job, which is just making me so slow and hesitant, and I feel like I've been on tenterhooks for about 3 hours, which is not a nice headspace to be in.
Sure that doesn't roll.
Not take it off.
Try not to get that I know it's probably just because we're taking stuff off, but make sure it doesn't roll up, because that again, as I was saying, has a kind of tourniquet effect.
Oh, okay.
And
Are you milking it again, Fergus?
No, I'm actually not at the moment. I'm having a really bad time. So it's just
You have to hold your neck up there. You okay?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a few crunches.
Oh, it does feel like it actually does feel like it's draining. Like
painful as it goes out.
Yeah, it's like
your nerves have been trapped as well.
Yeah, it does feel quite nerve focused, to be honest.
How are you feeling, Fergus?
I'm feeling pretty dreadful. I'm just physically, I'm not feeling any worse than I was yesterday, I don't think. But tiredness is pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, I'll just grin and bear it if we need to.
There's classes and things. You should put something over.
All right. Are you with your pants down?
Not for the first time.
we just snuck up on you, didn't we?
You alright? We'll try it.
You come that way and get a better view.
Right. Yeah, sorry to bother. Are you away anywhere or doing anything?
How are you feeling, Fergus?
I'm just wound up. I'm just wound up.
I'm on the hill.
In a sadistic, twisted sort of way, I'm kind of proud of myself for actually crippling my body before I've crippled my mind. But it's just so frustrating that
Fergus, how's cracking it?
I'm moving horribly.
Yeah.
Really horribly.
Yeah. Just all over or specifics?
You'll probably explain, but everything's working way more than it should to compensate. And my hips are swinging, my left ankle's working harder than it should. It's just chaos.
Number 5, there will be highs, and those are the things that you should fight through the lows for. We can take a lot of joy, a lot of pride, and just a lot of fulfillment from when those highs do come. But it is important to remember that, as with the lows, no one feeling lasts forever. So going back to what I said earlier, we should just really try and embrace and be grateful for the highs when they do come, and just learn to better process your understanding of the fact that we are constantly going through these ebbs and flows in day-to-day life. There'll be false summits, there'll be false peaks, there'll be highs, there'll be lows, but it's how we react and how we operate within the circumstances given to us that gives us the opportunity to really own our own sense of self. The highs on this project were absolutely immense when they did happen. I had some of the best experiences, best moments of my life, and some memories that I'll cherish forever. So again, another reason why I'd encourage you all to push your boundaries and take on something that scares you this year, because I know firsthand how rewarding and valuable an experience it can be.
A beautiful day, beautiful day.
How are you feeling, Fergus?
Much better, much better. Johnny's done a botch job on taping my knee up, which turns out not to be a botch job. It seems to have worked, so moved well uphill. We all did. It was actually quite hard work, sweating more than I have done. And then the way down, it was painful, but I could actually keep a knee drive, my hips moving forwards, which is a huge positive. So I'm actually just a little bit excited to eat and get back up there to keep moving forward, because I was not expecting to be able to come down today with any confidence. So good news.
Yeah, boys!
How's that, boys?
Ridiculous.
Stunning.
Best summit in Scotland I've ever had, in terms of all the working parts.
I don't think we'll ever get it
No.
quite as beautiful as this again.
You didn't get that kind of 360 panoramic effect that you do on top of somewhere like Ben Nevis or the mountains. So yeah, this is pretty cool.
Contact Coffee Red On is like the Buckfast of the coffee world, and I'm not afraid to say that to anyone. Luke, how much is in it? You won't tell me.
Fergus?
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Good. Very good. Not that good. No. Yeah, cruising in A, most of that. We moved well, didn't we?
Didn't it?
Yeah, moved really well. I think we've had a bit of adaptation today. I feel fit.
Number 6, and I know it sounds a little bit cliched, it's been done to death on social media and it's something that's much easier said than done, but we should always focus on the positives. I was in some miserable situations when I was up on that mountain. I had some real dark thoughts, but whenever I was being asked how I was, I think through practice, through habit, I always defaulted back to trying to extract the positive from the situation, and that comes from sort of calibrating my mindset over the past couple of years to just think in that certain way. So PMA, positive mental attitude, is something that's spoken about an awful lot, but I do think it's something that's incredibly valuable for us all to keep in our back pockets, because when the going gets tough, if we can try and look at a situation objectively, think, right, okay, what are the positives that I can focus on here, and how do we keep moving forwards, then it gives you a much more positive, bad word to use in this case, much more pragmatic, shall we say, outlook on how to keep moving forwards. And again, it might seem very, very difficult to extract the positives out of negative situations, but it is something that's incredibly valuable, incredibly rewarding, and helps you potentially turn around that negative situation into a more positive one further down the line. So let me run you through a few of the negative situations I found myself in where I was constantly trying to pull it back to evaluating the positive.
I know this feels a bit shit right now, but
yeah, this is a bit shit.
It's also pretty boring.
This is a bit shit. Monotony, dread. These are your words.
Yeah, they are my words.
You know, but this is
stupid brain.
With Fergus this morning, his mood's actually really very good. He's slow. We're both slow in the mornings, and everything's a little bit like treading through molasses. But he's good at the moment. He's in the van getting his ankle looked at and strapped up. Yesterday he turned it a little bit, and we think did a little damage to reticulum. So he's struggled on it. He struggled hard on the way down the hill, but kept good spirits.
Where are we? Just wound up.
Is this on?
No confidence in my lower limbs. Oh,
This is on.
and
Go away for your sack.
no, I'm nowhere near it. Moved well uphill. Highest heart rate we've probably been operating at thus far. Sweating more than the normal, but I think we just needed a good hit out. Got up to the top in 2 hours 40, which is great. Having Gaz there was great to just sort of touch base with him, get a bit of a mindset check in, and rethink a few things that we've been probably straying from the past couple of days maybe. And downhill wasn't nearly as challenging as we feared it would be in terms of pain, so we're both, I think it's fair to say, in a better headspace mentally, ready to head up again and bash out too. It's slow today, but we thoroughly enjoyed it, which I think is going to be a positive for tomorrow, because I'm now more aware of how much I can come back from feeling really, really quite rock bottom.
What's the view like, guys?
Shite. Alright, day 3, we're off, but in true kick-off spirit.
Fergus, does any part of you just sort of wish it was all over?
My knee, my ankle, said knee, and
Mentally speaking, I would like it to be over, but the end is in sight, so I'm very much willing to keep doing the work to get to the finish. But
alright, so all in all, most positive day we've had so far. Probably the best summit
By a long shot.
we will ever have in the Scottish Mountains in our lives, I reckon, all things
honestly
considered.
think so. Well, certainly the best summit I've seen in all my life on plenty of mountains, many mountains here, and on the Ben.
There was just a lot going on, wasn't there? We had hills to ourselves. It wasn't a dusting of snow, it was 12 inches at points, wasn't it? But it was just like another planet we could see. That was nice, first time we've been able to see, and we're on day 5. And there was enough cloud and sort of cloud scenery along with the scenery going on to just make it a completely different picture to what we've had in the past. With light coming through, it was otherworldly, quite frankly. So we were all on a real high when we got there.
There you have it, my first and potentially final clip show. Who knows? I hope you have enjoyed a bit of an insight more into the things that I've personally learned from Project Vertical, and I hope that maybe you've taken some things away from it yourself. I'm not trying to be all preachy, be all stoical about what was ultimately just an endurance event, but I know firsthand how valuable endurance, pushing my boundaries, taking on challenges that scare me, etc., has been for me as an individual, not just athletically, but in my day-to-day life. So, given that we are facing such a challenging past year, year to come, whatever it might be, nobody really knows. The more that we can acknowledge that we can control and we can put to bed the things that we can't, the more power to us to take control of where we can really sort of survive to thrive. And I would encourage you all to take on something that scares you this year, whether that's an ultramarathon, whether it's a long bike ride, whether it's a swim, whether it's weights related, I do not care. All I would encourage you to do is take on something that scares you, take on something where you are forced to really deep dive into your own mindset to figure out who you really are, how you really operate, what you're truly grateful for, and why certain things are important to you, because then you will be able to keep those things in your back pocket for when you might be in a negative situation, and you can pull them out to help pull you forwards. Again, this is just my sort of musings, my reflections on my own personal experience, having suffered from depression for several years, ending in a suicide attempt, and now finding this spiritual connection with endurance, spiritual connection with the outdoors that ultimately helps pull me forward in my day-to-day life now. And if that turns out to be the case for some of you, brilliant. If not, here's a long video on me rambling about White Lurton on a hill. So either way, hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do make sure that you subscribe down below and that you've dropped the video a like. Please do look out for more content in 2021, as I've got a long, exciting list of things to get done. But other than that, thank you again for watching, and see you next time.